What's going on, Dolphins fans? Welcome back to the Fins Up Network. It's Ben Morgan, and in today's video, I want to do our player profile today on Byron Jones. I want to talk about his outlook heading into the 2022 season. Most importantly, I want to talk about how important he is in one of the league's top cornerback duos alongside Xavien Howard, because I feel that Byron Jones catches this unnecessary amount of flack from some Dolphins fans. In my opinion, though, Byron Jones is a huge reason for why Xavien Howard is as good and as opportunistic as he possibly is. But before we get going, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Byron Jones in the comments below. And let's try something new today. If you think the Miami Dolphins have a top 3 cornerback duo in the entire NFL, go ahead and give this video the thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, make sure that you are subscribing. But here's one of the deals about Byron Jones and Xavien Howard. The first thing that we all see when comparing X and Byron is those interception numbers. Byron Jones has 4 career interceptions, 2 of those with the Miami Dolphins. Both of them came in 2020. Xavien Howard, on the other hand, has 5 games with multiple interceptions. He's got 27 interceptions in his career. And hell, he had 10 in 2020 alone. I get it. Xavien Howard is a ball hawk. That's great to have. It's great for us. Byron Jones is more of this coverage guy that doesn't really have that knack for creating turnovers like X has, but that doesn't paint the entire picture for when we talk about how valuable he is to this defense, because a big reason for Howard even seeing enough targets that come his way to get his hands on those interceptions is because teams aren't super thrilled to throw at Byron Jones either. But hey, you got to throw at somebody, so they're both going to end up seeing targets. Let's talk about those targets. Xavien Howard was targeted 3 more times last year than Byron Jones, about even. So it's not like one of these guys is viewed as more shutdown than the other. And based on these numbers, opposing offenses feel pretty similar about who they think they're going to have a better success rate going against. Now, let's look at the numbers of completions that each gave up. Byron Jones gave up 5 more completions, while he allowed a completion percentage of 60%. Xavien Howard's completion percentage against him was 52.7%. So in regards to a success rate, Xavien Howard roughly better by about 7% in just regards to straight up completion percentage. But Byron Jones at 60% is not too bad. Look at some notable cornerbacks that are right around that same percentage and even higher. Bradley Roby, 70%. Shaq Griffin, 69%. Stephon Gilmore, 68%. Byron Murphy, 65%. And check out these next 2 names. James Bradbury, 62%. Denzel Ward, 60%. Denzel Ward is considered a top 5 cornerback by a lot of people that I trust that watch this league. That's some pretty solid company to be in. Now, the yards allowed is where Byron can struggle a little bit. He's been a little bit susceptible to the big play. He allowed 115 more receiving yards than Xavien Howard did last year. But at the same time, he only allowed 1 more yard per catch. He was at 13.5 per completion. X was at 12.5 per completion. But if you factor in the touchdowns allowed, this is a little bit eye-popping to some people that may not dive as deep into these cornerback stats and really only focus on those interceptions or passes defended. Xavien Howard was charged with giving up 6 touchdowns last year. The absolute worst player charged with touchdowns given up last year gave up 8. So he was only 2 behind that. Byron Jones gave up 4. That once again puts him in the same exact statistical category as a guy like Denzel Ward. So that's kind of just comparing the 2 of those. But as I kind of wrap up some of this, I want to look at the importance of Byron Jones heading into 2022, because there's a few things that we need to keep in mind. First, in my opinion, and I feel like it's a lot of people's opinion, we've reached the point in modern day NFL football where the most important positions on defense are your edge rushers and your cornerbacks. Now let's look at Miami's defense. Miami's zero-blitz scheme defense, not that they run it every play, but they run it higher percentage than most anyone in the league, That only works with shutdown cornerbacks. Zero blitz means that you're not getting help in the secondary. You are on an island with the guy that you are covering. So while Miami has good blitzers for this scheme, they've got good edge rushers, they've got good linebackers that blitz in that scheme. The safeties can both get it done. In my opinion, that defense, the framework of it, starts with X and it starts with Byron. Now, the next thing to keep in mind, if indeed Miami's offense takes a step forward in 2022, what that means is that there's a better chance that they'll be playing with a lead more often than what we've seen in the future. Well, what does that mean? That means more teams passing the ball more consistently, passing the ball more often later in games in an attempt to either come back or be in this back and forth potential shootout with Miami's offense. And while I think that we would all expect Miami's offense to be better in 2022, Miami still can't afford to have a defense that's allowing 27, 28, 30 points per game. The defense, though, I don't think that's going to be an issue because I think the defense is going to remain a huge strength for this team. But arguably, the biggest reason for why that strength is what it is, it's the cornerbacks. It's Byron. It's X. So, no, I don't expect Byron Jones to just magically morph into this turnover creating machine this upcoming season. Don't get me wrong on that. But what we need him to do is exactly what he's done so far during his time with the Dolphins, and that's remain a consistent coverage guy across from Xavien Howard. Because, man, fans just get so down on Byron Jones because he'll get beat downfield every once in a while on a big yardage completion. I know, I've seen it as well. But for some reason, that one play just magically erases all the times that Byron's guy was just blanketed for like 90% of the game. It just doesn't work that way. We can't just ignore those plays. We need to start focusing more on Byron's positive plays. And I think that one of the reasons that we don't is because people look at his positive plays and they aren't as flashy as Xavien Howard's positive plays. So Xavien Howard will give up some completions and he'll give up more touchdowns, but hey, he ended up having 2 interceptions in that game. Whereas Byron Jones was like, well, his flashy plays was just getting a pass deflection, or maybe his guy wasn't even targeted because of how good he was doing in coverage. So we got to pay a little bit more attention to that as fans, rather than looking at the splashy stat plays, looking at how he shut down his guy 90% of the game. But that's what I've got for today's videos, Dolphins fans. Like I mentioned earlier, let's hear your thoughts on Byron Jones in the comments below. If you think the Miami Dolphins have a top 3 cornerback duo, make sure you give this video a like. P.S. If you're a Dolphins fan, you better give this damn video a like then, because they are for sure a top 3 cornerback duo. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you are getting subscribed. But until then, next time, Miami Dolphins fans, fins up.